All right, so Nvidia.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what they're doing.
Right.
We're diving into their Q2 2024 10Q filing. Um,
It's like our financial detective work, trying
yeah.
to piece together NVIDIA's trajectory.
Okay, so most people know Nvidia for their graphics cards, right?
Absolutely. Gamers love them.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is NVIDIA transforming
Yeah.
into something much bigger.
And when we say bigger, we're talking billions with
Yeah.
a B in revenue, and not just from selling to gamers.
Right. NVIDIA is going all in on what they call accelerated computing.
Which sounds kind of technical.
It is. It's basically the engine behind a lot of the technology we use. AI, data centers,
Oh,
even
yeah.
self-driving cars. And this isn't some far-off future. This is what's fueling their insane growth.
Right now.
Yeah.
And looking at the numbers, their revenue is up 122%.
Yeah. It's really something.
Since last year. 122%.
It's amazing.
That's incredible.
Really speaks to the demand. Speaking of demand, remember a while back when you couldn't find a graphics card?
Oh, yeah. Gamers were going crazy.
Yeah, the GPU shortage,
What was that all about?
cryptocurrency mining.
Huh.
People were buying up all the GPUs to mine Bitcoin.
Oh, right.
Ethereum.
Wow.
It created this huge surge in demand.
And how are they dealing with such unpredictable markets?
Well,
Flipping through their 10Q, it seems like even they have a hard time predicting what's going to happen.
it is. It's really difficult.
Mm?
The 10Q actually mentions the gray market several times.
The gray market?
Yeah.
What is that?
So basically, it's like a black market for GPUs.
Oh, wow.
Since demand is so high, you have people selling them through unauthorized channels,
Risky.
often at much higher prices.
And how does that hurt a company like Nvidia?
It undercuts their pricing,
Ah, okay.
and it makes it harder for them to
Right.
track real demand. If you don't know how many people actually want your product,
Right.
it's hard to know how many to make.
It's like trying to hit a moving target.
Exactly.
Folded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to make things even more complicated, there are also these geopolitical challenges.
Yeah, you're right. Hidden in this 10Q are some pretty big geopolitical issues, especially when it comes to China.
Yeah.
The U.S. export controls on certain computer chips, the ones that power AI and data centers.
Right.
That's huge.
Huge. It's a real balancing act for NVIDIA.
So how is NVIDIA adapting to these export controls? We get some clues in this 10Q.
Well, first you have to remember that the Chinese market is massive.
Right, they can't just ignore it.
Exactly. So they've had to get creative.
Okay.
They've started developing new products,
Oh, interesting.
specifically for the Chinese market,
Okay.
that don't trigger these export restrictions. They're basically building a separate,
Wow.
but just as powerful engine. And on top of that, they've also had to transition some of their operations out of China because of these export controls.
So they're creating products to navigate these trade regulations.
Exactly.
That's wild.
It is. It's like playing a high-stakes game of chess,
Yeah.
strategically maneuvering around all these obstacles.
Absolutely.
You
It's
know-
like they're trying to predict the future, but someone keeps changing the locks.
Right, exactly. It really highlights how NVIDIA is constantly adjusting in this tech landscape, which changes by the minute, it seems.
Yeah.
But let's go back to those canceled orders and inventory write-downs for a second.
Yeah, that seems weird. They're making record revenue.
Right.
But they're still having to deal with all that. What's going on there?
Well, remember we were talking about how volatile the demand for GPUs is, especially with the whole cryptocurrency thing
Yeah.
and that gray market. It's all connected.
So are you saying they made all these chips expecting to sell them like hotcakes because of the demand, and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out?
Exactly. It's really tough. Make too few and you lose out on sales. You make too many and you're stuck with extra inventory or canceling orders and paying the price.
It's such a tough game to play, but NVIDIA seems to be managing it.
They are. And a big part of that is how they're investing their money.
So let's talk about that. What kind of investments?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me in the 10Q was just how much they're pouring into research and development.
Really? R&D? What are they working on in those labs?
The next generation of AI chips, they're pushing the limits of what these chips can do.
Wow.
And we're not talking about small steps. This is cutting-edge stuff. They're exploring things like neuromorphic computing.
Neuromorphic computing, that sounds intense.
It is. They're basically trying to create a chip that acts like the human brain.
No way.
Yeah. It could completely change how we process AI, making it faster and more powerful than anything we have now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
wild. They're investing in R&D, but they're also known for making these really big moves.
Right, like that time they acquired Mellanox a few years back.
Mellanox. That rings a bell. What did they do again?
They're big in networking technology. Really high-performance stuff. The kind that data centers and supercomputers need.
Right, right. How did that acquisition fit into their strategy?
It was a smart move,
Oh.
honestly. By bringing in Mellanox, they gain control of this whole area of networking that is just essential for the future of computing.
It's like they got the missing piece to their puzzle.
Exactly. And remember when they tried to acquire ARM Holdings?
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal.
Huge.
That didn't end up happening, though, right?
No, it fell through, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Regulatory hurdles.
Too bad.
Yeah. But even trying shows you how ambitious they are, how they're not afraid to make these big moves to shape their future.
It's like they're playing a high-stakes game of poker,
Right.
and they're not afraid to go all in.
Exactly. And partnerships. Even without ARM, they're forming partnerships left and right. Cloud providers like Amazon and Google, software companies, even car companies, they're trying to build this whole ecosystem around their platform.
So it's not just the technology, they're building a world around it.
Exactly. They know their tech is powerful, but it's the connections, the way it all works together with other technologies that matters.
They're like a city planner building the roads and infrastructure for this whole new world.
Yes. And don't forget about software. Nvidia is more than just hardware now.
That's right. They've been making moves in the software world, too.
They're developing these really complex software platforms like CDA,
Yeah.
which is like essential for AI, and Omniverse, which is used to build those immersive 3D worlds we were talking about.
So they're building the tools and the playground. That's smart.
Exactly. And by controlling both the hardware and the software, they're creating a moat around their business.
A moat, like a castle.
Yes. Like a castle. It's how they're protecting themselves from competitors. They're making sure their technology stays ahead of the game.
That's a power move for sure. So they're riding the AI wave, making these huge acquisitions, building their software moat, navigating global politics like pros. Is there anything they're not doing?
Well, just like any company, they have their challenges.
Of course. What are some of the hurdles NVIDIA might face in the future?
One thing that 10Q makes clear is that their supply chain is a constant challenge.
Right.
They rely on this complex network of suppliers and manufacturers, and a lot of them are in places where, let's just say, things are a little unpredictable.
Yeah, and we've already talked about how those geopolitical risks can really throw a wrench in things, like those export controls on China.
Exactly. And then there's always competition.
Right.
Intel and AMD, even Google and Amazon are investing heavily in this space.
Or it's like they're playing in the major leagues,
Yeah.
and they've got some heavy hitters on the field.
Exactly. And those companies are always innovative. The pace of change is just incredible, and NVIDIA can't afford to slow down, not even for a second.
It's a race to the top.
Absolutely. But one thing that really sets NVIDIA apart is they seem to be able to anticipate the challenges and adapt really quickly.
So they're not just reacting, they're thinking ahead.
Exactly. And that leads us to the big question.
And that is, will betting so heavily on AI pay off for NVIDIA, or are they putting all their eggs in one basket?
It's a big gamble for sure. But this isn't some small startup taking a shot in the dark. This is NVIDIA.
Yeah, they're already a giant in the tech world.
Exactly.
And they're making these bold moves from a position of strength.
They've got this incredible ability to just adapt, to see where things are going, and make it happen.
And they're not just chasing the latest trends, they're creating the trends.
Totally. And AI, that's not going away anytime soon. This is changing how we live. It's changing how we interact with tech. And NVIDIA, they're at the center of it all.
No doubt. But like we've been saying, it's not without risks. What happens if the AI market gets too crowded? Or if some completely new technology comes out of nowhere and changes everything? Or if things heat up even more on the geopolitical scene?
Right. It's not like a straight path to success.
So it's not all sunshine and roses for NVIDIA?
Never is. But honestly, looking at this deep dive into their 10Q, what really stood out to you?
I was really blown away by how focused they are. They're like laser focused on this whole idea of accelerated computing, and they're doing everything they can to dominate it, and they're not afraid to make tough decisions.
Yeah, it's like when they had to write down all that inventory or pay penalties to get out of those orders.
Exactly. That tells me they're playing the long game here, and I think investors, they need to see that.
For sure. This isn't about making a quick buck. This is about building something that lasts.
So if there's one thing we can say about NVIDIA, it's that they are always moving forward, always adapting.
Always adapting. And whether that gamble on AI pays off, that's the billion-dollar question.
For sure.
But no matter what happens, they're going to be right there, shaping the future of tech.
Well, there you have it. Your deep dive into NVIDIA's Q2 2024 10Q filing. We've gone beyond the headlines, looked at the numbers, and tried to figure out what it all means.
Hopefully you've learned something not just about Nvidia, but about this whole new world of tech that's being built right before our eyes.
And it's moving fast.
Moving fast. So until next time, keep asking questions, keep digging, keep that curiosity going.